Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. We have got a monster today we are going to tackle. It is Blackbird by Alter Bridge. Probably the most requested of any songs that I've not done yet on the channel, which is a couple of thousand on the channel now. This is probably the most requested, and I have delayed it and procrastinated and put it off and all the other words you can say, because there's a lot going on here, and I knew that. And but this week I got to it, so we're gonna go through the entire thing, all the fingerstyle parts, both Myles' killer solo and Mark's killer solo, all the rhythm guitar works for both Myles and Mark. So there's a lot going on. So hopefully you guys will come along for the ride. And if you like this kind of material and the amount of work that I have to put in to kind of get a song, especially like this, all together, and these monstrous lesson videos on YouTube, if you want to support what I do, I say it all the time, join my Guitar Academy. There's a link to it in the description that'll give you 40% off the annual rate. It's a massive discount, and you have that rate for life as long as you keep your account active. So the price will never go up on you. You'll not only get full access to all of my courses, which go from complete beginner courses to advanced courses on technique, improvisation, ear training, and theory. You also get personalized support from me. You get access to my weekly live streams that I do over there. So we got a great community. Please come and join us. And it really supports what I do here on YouTube. All right, let's jump into it. Now we're tuned down a half step. So I'll put those notes. If you're playing this song, you know how to get your guitar in a half step down. So it's in E flat tuning, E flat standard. All right, so let's start here. Now, Mark, how he picks it, he's obviously not a traditional fingerstyle guitar player. I used to be myself until half my hand quit working. So what he does for all the fingerstyle stuff is he just uses his thumb and index finger to pick everything. So I'm putting my pick here. It's where I like to hold it whenever I'm like tapping or something. That's just kind of between those knuckles on my middle finger. And then you can do all of the finger picking with just two fingers, or your thumb and index finger. All right, so you don't have to be some great fingerstyle guitar player to play it exactly like Mark does. So let's look at what's going on here. So we're going to start here with this G minor chord. So he's playing it with the 3rd fret there on the low E string with his middle finger, and then the ring finger is going to take the 3rd fret there on the G, and then the pinky is going to grab the 3rd fret there on the B string. So you're going to first pick the low E and the G string together. And then you're going to pick the low E again, and then the B string, and then drag your index finger over and catch the G string next, and then that low E string again on the with the thumb. So the thumb is basically how to know where you're going to be picking everything. It's pretty much the thumb is always going to get everything that's on the E and the A string, for the most part. And in one part, it'll jump over and grab the D string as well. But pretty much the thumb is just taking care of all the notes on the A and the E string. So that will kind of show you what the picking's going on. So, and then what we're gonna do is we have a little melody moving on the G string. So we have this. And then what we do is we just take this note that's at the 3rd fret there on the G string and move it down to the 2nd fret. And you're going to pick these two strings together again, the G and that low E. And then pick that low E, the same picking pattern, B. So when you go, after you pick the B string and roll over to that G string again, you're going to lift up that note that's holding the 2nd fret to make it open G. And then we have the open a low E string as well too, so we have this. And then it goes to the next chord, so we have this. So we use that open E string as a way to transition. We're going to play this next chord with the second fret there on the low E string with your index finger, and then the middle finger will catch the second fret there on the G. You're leaving this note here. Same picking again. The E and the G together, then the E, B, G, E. So it's the same picking pattern for those first three measures. So this. Now you're going to keep holding this chord for a minute. It does that real quick. So this is a lot of the index finger just dragging across strings. So I'm still holding this here, that second fret on the low string. When I start this next measure, open high E, let that ring, and then the B string, G, and then I'm going to lift up. I'll play the open D and then lift up and hit the open E with the thumb. So it is. So far, slowly, what we have so far, the first four measures. All right, now you're gonna leave that middle finger there that's at the second fret on the G string, but you're gonna play the first fret there on the low E, that together. So the pattern, the picking's on a little bit different strings now. So we have this first fret there on the low E and the second fret there on G. Pick that together, and then pick that low E again, and then go up to the third fret on the G, then the open D with your index finger, and then the thumb on the first fret on the low E string. And then you're gonna pick that G string again, the third fret, pull off to 2, and then open G, open D. So we have this. And then you have that open D with your index finger, and as you're doing that, you're gonna come up here and grab this, it's like a power chord shape here at the 6th fret on the low E string. So there'd be the 6th fret on the low E, 8 on the A string. He uses his pinky here, and he plays the 6th fret on the low E first, and then those two notes together. So we have this. So it's from here. All right, so after you fit these two notes together, the power chord, we're going to do this. So right there is the only spot there that you'll see, I think in this intro, where you're going to use your thumb. It's going to hit the D string, and that's right here. So when you hit this chord, you're going to play then the 6th fret there and the low E there with your thumb, and then jump over and grab the open D with your thumb, and then the open G with your index finger, and then back to that 6th fret there on the low E, and then to the next chord, which is just this note taken down to the 5th fret. So it's 5 on the low E, 8 on the A, and then same picking again, 5 on the low E, open D, open G. So all together here we have this. Then just repeats the same thing again. Now it has a little slightly different ending here. So on that very last one, when we did the 5 and the 8 together, before the first time through, the second ending does those two notes together, and then picks that low E at the 5th fret, but then 7th fret on the D, and then open G. So instead of this, it's, And then from the next part, the vocals come in. So the one whole time through the rhythm is what we just covered. That was that second ending there is the full ending of the whole riff. And then here, Myles comes in with the vocals. And it's the same thing pretty much until the very last chord. So the vocals, which is like obviously the official verse. So it's all the same. Then I'll do this. So it's a little bit different ending there. So only when Myles is singing is that ending happening. So it's so it's basically this. Before we were doing this as that, basically the second time through the riff is the true ending of the whole thing. So instead of doing this, we're gonna come down here and go. So that's gonna be the power chord, the first fret on the low E and third fret there on the A. And then you're gonna pick across the first fret on the low E. So I'm catching my thumb's gonna catch that first fret on the low E, then the first fret on the D, and then the open D string with my index finger, and then the quick little open E that takes us back to the beginning. And those open E's aren't hit very loud, but they are there. So we had this ending. And there was that open E there to get back down to here too. So we had this. There's an open E leading. And then we go through the riff one more time, and it's back with just the instrumental version. No vocals. So just like the first time. Now, so it's just like the first time, and then we come into the big heavy riffs. So it's the riff played 3 times. And the one in the middle has a 1 chord difference. The very last chord is different. And so but the first and third time are played the same. So that's what Mark's doing. We also have this little melody, which I believe is being played on an EBow, and I don't see them playing it live, so you don't really hear them do this melody too much. It kind of does some kind of weird thing there, but it's got that tone of like an EBow, and it's a sustained note. So we can kind of emulate that, so what they're playing, but obviously we got to keep picking it to make it come out. But the melody is this. And then into that big riff. It's a very cool melody, and if you have an EBow, if you know what that is, it kind of sustains everything. Or you might be using a sustainer pickup, I don't know, whatever. But most people don't have either of those things, so you're gonna just have to play it like I just did. So that's that bend. That's first playing the 8th fret on the B string into a whole step bend, and then you're gonna go up another half step, and then back down to the whole step bend. And then back down to the 8 without the bend, and then you go through that melody again. It's a very, very cool thing to play over that riff. And now things are gonna get a little bit easier. We're gonna go into the heavier riffs. So not as much to going on here. So we have this for the first riff. Very, very cool. All right, so this is mostly, so live, I'll see Mark sometimes doing more power chords on these notes, but And I can hear some slight kind of, sometimes you don't know if you're hearing the power chord or just like a little overtone of the fifth. But the dominant sound of this riff is single notes. So you can add like, but I think it sounds better as single notes. So I'm gonna show it like that because that's the predominant sound in the recording. So we start with a really heavy vibrato, the third fret of the low string. And then slight bend up and release at the fifth fret and release. Then heavy vibrato at the second fret, and then that same kind of bend and release at the fifth fret, and then first fret. And then, so they have a knack of, it just sounds massive when they're going into and the chorus as well too. And just for an E flat tuning, it's pretty impressive to make it sound like that. But like, and then we had this ending. So that's a power chord here at the, I know I got some delays on. Really thickens up the sound here with this tone, and they got a lot of saturation in their sound, so I think it just kind of helps, so I'm just gonna leave it on. So we have the sixth fret there power chord, the B flat power chord off the low E string. When you see him play live, he's now added that ninth to it. So that is not on, that note is not on the recording though, so it's just a regular power chord on the recording. And then we have this. Then he gets to that note, which is just gonna be borrowing the fifth fret from the G across to the low E. And then you'll play the eighth fret there on the A and seventh fret there on the D. So we got that note there on the G string. So and then we get to the chorus, and they're both playing like the same chorus, but they're doing kind of different voicings of them. So let me show you what Mark's doing first. So it looks like this. So it's a very short version of the chorus at the very beginning. They really build this thing up really, really nicely. But this hits when they go to this chord. These kind of root fifth chord. So what's going on here? It makes it sound so huge. Obviously the bass player is going down and catching that low, the low notes there. But and Mark's helping. It almost sounds like a 7-string guitar because he's doing a root fifth shape. So that's how this when it really kicks in so good during that. Chorus, he's playing an E flat power chord, so it's the 6th fret on the A and then the 8th fret there on the D string, but he's going to add the 6th fret on the low E string there, which is the 5th of the chord in the bass, which gives the impression that it's like played an octave lower. And then you're going to take that shape down to the 5th fret, then come down here. So just for a regular F major, just have to be the full bar. It's just the 1st fret there on the low E, 3rd on the A, 3rd on the D, 2nd on the G. And then he basically goes into this E chord. So this not E chord, it's a C chord with E in the bass. And with Myles, he's gonna be catching the G. So it's a full, basically a first inversion C major chord when they put everything together there. But Mark's voicing here is got the low E, 3rd fret there on the A, 2nd on the D string, and then that 5th on the G. So it is. And then back to the first two chords. Now, what is Myles doing? He's doing this. And it really kind of fills everything out. So He's playing this same chord shape that that Mark is doing up here, but he's playing it here. So he's playing on different strings, which gives it a different timbre, so it thickens up the sound even more. So that's the first fret across the A and the D, and then that third fret there on the B. I'm sorry, third fret on the G string. And then it's a D power chord with the A string in the bass. And then he comes to the F, but he's got the fifth in the bass. So he's got that third fret across the A and the D, and grabbing the fifth fret there on the G. So he's doing that chord while Mark is doing that one. And then you see him do this. It looks like he's playing something at the second fret, but he's actually, I don't think his index finger is playing anything. It's kind of prepping to play the next chord. He's just playing here the open E, third fret there on the A, and he's catching that fifth now of the chord of the third fret there of the D string. So all together for, and then he repeats the first two chords. So we had this so far. All right, so then we get back to basically it's the same as the intro section. So Mark is gonna do the same clean section repeated 3 times with the same endings, because that verse is the middle one that has that ending down here. But over the first instrumental part of so the first time through it, it's all instrumental. And we have this little fill that comes in that Myles is doing, looks like this. So that's just going to be a pre-bend at the 17th fret there on the G string. Pick it with the volume off. And you release the bend as you roll the volume up. You don't have to roll the volume all the way up. It's just kind of a half distorted tone. So we have this kind of, and then it's the slide bend at the 15th fret there on the G. Then the 17 a couple times on the D string. And then pick that 17 like 4 more times, and then back to that bend. Slide bend at the 15th on the G, and then back to hitting the 17 a couple times on the D string. So pretty short little fill, and then the verse comes in, and you have Mark doing the same thing he did at the beginning of the song. And then the instrumentally that part one more time with that same fill, that same melody over it, which is really, really cool. And then we get to the second chorus. Second chorus is longer, and it has it's kind of really extended, and has these little chords that kind of lead us into this interlude section. So looks like this. Here's what Mark is doing. And it goes into the interlude section. So very cool how they transition there at the very end there. So we have the same chorus so far that starts. And then here. So you got Mark doing power chords. It almost sounds like octaves. And you have, what makes that part of the riff sound interesting is Myles is not playing, he's playing one note, and he's putting a lot of vibrato. So that gives it like a really that kind of one note vibe again. But if you listen to the recording closely, you can hear the whole full power chord and that octave note. So I believe what's going on here, and it looks kind of like he's doing this live, is yeah, Mark is kind of playing power chords at maybe just an octave, but I believe, and I'm just hearing the overtone in there, but I think it's just power chords. So just at the third fret, sorry, then 5, 7, I should learn to count, 3, 5, 6, 8. And we'll cover the one note version of that when we get to Myles, what Myles is doing there. So then he goes back to the, so instead of going, he goes to that first chord, and then he kind of extends it by going, just take this and move this over to the 5th fret on the A string while you're still holding that up. And that takes us down to that first chord of the interlude. So one more time there. All right, so that's Mark's version of the chorus, second chorus. Here's what Myles is doing, very similar. He's just gonna do that one note melody there instead of the full power chorus. All right, so something like that. It goes like, and that. So it's basically the same thing. Just that, like I said, he's doing his normal when he goes to the instead of that power chord version, he's doing 3, 5, 6, 8, and then back to his same chords. And then here, that little extended chord where Mark is doing this. Or that, he does. Just take this note down here on the first fret of the D string, and just take it down to the open D. And then to that D power chord. So it's just. All right, and then we have the that interlude is what it takes us down to. We have this. So coming out of this, we have Mark doing this for the interlude. All right, so that starts with that same chord, that root 5th chord here at the 5th fret. So that 5th fret on the low E and the A, 7th on the D, and then up to the 6th fret, 5. So this. So we did that twice, then grab the 3rd fret there on the A string, and then back to that 5th fret chord, and then we have this. So that's just 5, 6 on the A, then 4, 5, 4 on the D string, then back to 6 on the A. Then kind of start over. And then the last little melody. And so that's 5, 6 on the A string. So 5, 6, 5, 6 on the A, 4 on the D string, and then slide up to 8 on the D, down to 7, slide up to 10, and then down to 5. All right, so what is Myles doing during that section? So he's coming. He does this. And actually, when you see him play that live, he can't play that last chord. He's got to go up into his little clean part that he does. But you do hear kind of a little G power chord on the recording. The glory of overdubs. So we're into this. Kind of comes out. That D power chord, the A and the bass, and then so that's just that first fret across the A and the D, and then the open A and D, and then again. And then you have Mark doing that little note in there, but Myles doesn't do that. So just and the open A and D again, and then 0. Those same 2 strings: 0, 1, 4, 5, 4, 1, 0. And then once again, 1, 0, 1, 0, pause, and then open strings again, and then just a single note riff. So that's 0, 1, 4, then 1, 0, 3 on the A string. And then you can end it with the G chord, or if you're playing Myles' part live, you're gonna have to just jump up to this clean little riff that he does. All right, so that's the interlude, and then we have this little, this is kind of the interlude still as well too. We have Myles comes in with this really cool little repeated hybrid pick thing, and then you have Mark come in with like a little clean solo over that. So here's what Myles is doing, this little hybrid pick thing. All right, so that's so here at the 17th fret there, and on the D string. So he picks it kind of. These are kind of longer. He pauses longer on the first 2 hits on this 17th fret on the D string, and then over to 19 on the G string, and then he starts picking faster on this note on the 17th fret there on the D string, and this is in between the notes that he's hybrid picking on the other string. So the only note the string that's being picked is the D string, and then all the other notes are being plucked with his middle finger. So over the 19 on the G, and then a couple hits on the 17 on the D string, and then 20 on the B string with a hybrid pick, and then back down to the picking on the 17, and then the 19 on the G string, and then back to the 17 on the D, and then pick 18 on the B string, and then hammer on 20. So it is. So it's gonna hit this after those 2 hits on the D, and then it's just kind of just hits the D string one time in between each one of those melody notes. on the repeat. All right, so Myles does that for a while, and then we get to this little, it's more of a melody than a solo that Mark plays over that section. So while Myles continues this little clean riff, you get Mark that comes in with this. So he's kind of plucking this with just his thumb and index again. So his thumb's always getting the notes on the D string, and then the index is getting all the notes on the G string. So we're going to start this. So what's going on here? We have this couple hits on the 5th fret there on the D string. Then he comes over, hits this 5th fret there on the G string. It's a quick little kind of quarter step, half step-ish bend, really quick bend and release. So hit a couple times on that D string, quick bend and release, then back to the 5 on the D, and then we had this. It goes 7, 5 on the G, 5 on the D, and then back to that 5 on the G, and slide back to a 7. So hear this. All right, from there we kind of start the same way. It's just a little bit different melody. So first half's the same, and then 8, 7 on the G string, back to that 5 on the D string, and then pick 5 on the G, slide to 7. So far we have this. All right, then same beginning again. Oh, actually it's the melody the same way we did it the first time through. And then the 4th time through the melody, we kind of start at the same half. First half is the same. And then slide up to 10 on the G string, pull off 8, 7 on the G, and slide down to 5. All right, from there we have this. So that's going to be a couple hits on the 5 again. And then when you're going to play the 3rd fret, kind of quick bend and release on the G. Then back down to that 5th fret there on the D. And then back to the 3 on the G. Then down to 2. Catch that 5th fret on the D string with your pinky there. And then back 2, slide to 3. So we have this. And then we have this. So that's going to be a couple hits on the 5 on the D. And quick bend and release at the 5th fret there again. And then back down to the 5 on the D. And then at 5, 3, slide down, and then pull off to the open string. And then we kind of have that same melody that we started with. And then we get to, which is kind of the straight clean part. So it's another fingerstyle section here that leads us into the solo. So this is the bridge of the song. So we have all the vocals that go on over this. And then we have, when Myles' solo comes in, that's going to be played over this same bridge part. So Mark continues to play this. He repeats this again. And then when Mark's solo comes in, that's going to be over the chorus of the song. So let me play through this little fingerstyle section for you. So this is the bridge. right, so this one's a more kind of a strict kind of a thumb bass. You get the thumb going, kind of keeping a consistent rhythm the entire time, and then the melody's happening, mostly on the G string there. So we have this. So you hear that? You want to hear that consistent thumb. So it's kind of wanted to bring that to your attention because that kind of gets everything kind of that drive. So anyway, so the melody is open G. So you pick these two together, and then pick the thumb again, and then in between the next two thumb hits, you're gonna catch that third fret there on the G string, and then you have that thumb on the low E again. So we have this. So that's the beginning. And then you're gonna pick these two again together, and you're gonna pull off the 2 on the G string before the next thumb hit. Then the open G before the next thumb hit. So kind of like here's some melody notes that sometimes happen on the thumb hits and then sometimes between the thumb hits. And that's what can be kind of weird. You gotta kind of know this. And to be able to keep that in your head while it's not easy, but it's if you can kind of plot out where the notes happen together and then where they're one after the other, like we just did, and just kind of deliberately learn it like that. And then as you start feeling that, you get that in your muscle memory, then you start feeling that thumb, kind of driving thumb. It can kind of just keep everything, that thumb is what keeps everything together and makes you kind of place the melody notes in the right spot too. So now the third measure, you're going to be at back to the second fret there on the G, and while still picking the third fret there on the low E string. So those together, then the thumb, and then before the thumb here, you're going to pick the third fret there on the G, and then here's the thing, you're going to pull off the 2, and so as that pull off is sounded, you're picking the thumb. So it sounds like these two are played together, but one's a pull off. So that's kind of tricky. So we have this. Right there. And then we're back down to the open G with the third fret, the low E together. And then thumb again, open G, and thumb. So all together, for this basically the beginning of the first 4 measures. All right, now this next section, when it gets up here, it looks more intricate, but it's actually easier to play because there's not the melody notes aren't falling in such a weird spot. But it's up here, so we have this, where are we at? So it's gonna start here with the 6th fret there on the A string, so that's where your thumb's catching. So it's gonna be playing that consistently still. Starting with the open G string with it. Then you're gonna pick that thumb again, and then 8th fret on the G, and then a thumb again. So with this. And then you're gonna pick these 2 notes, the thumb and the 8th fret there together. Pull off to 7, thumb, so then the 5th fret there on the G, and back to the thumb. So we have this. So we have this. So the melody's still on the G string. And then you're gonna come back to the melody at the 7th fret, and then little bit easier. So just hitting the 2 outside strings, that's still that the A string there with your thumb, and then that 7th fret here on the G, and just kind of hold, hit those together, and then pick thumb, G string, thumb, so, and again. So we have this so far. So where we at? All right, and then we're gonna take what we did on the Now we're gonna come over to the 6th fret on the low E. Well, that's gonna be the thumb note, the consistent thumb note. And then you're gonna start here at the 7th fret here on the D string. So those 2 together, then that thumb note there, up to the 8th fret there on the B, before the next on the D string. And then pick these 2 notes together again, pull off to 7, thumb, 5 on the D, back to the thumb. So we have this. All right, then take this shape that you've got right here and move it down 1 fret, and you're gonna now the 5th fret on the low E with your thumb. You have that 4th fret there on the D. So we have those two notes together, the low E and the D string. And then pick the thumb again, 5th fret there on the D, back to the thumb. And then now pick those 2 strings together again, pull off to the 4, pick the thumb, and then the 5th fret there on the G, and then the thumb. So I know it gets kind of intricate, but once you can kind of place them out together and just get that driving thumb together, it gets easier. So. All right, now the ending here, well, the ending of the first half. So that's going to be the 3rd fret there on the low E. So that's the consistent thumb note. We have the open D with it first, then the thumb, and then the 3rd fret there on the G, then the thumb. So we have this. Do that again. And then we're going to have the same thing, except it's going to be the open G string. So we have this. Like this. And then you're going to play after the open G. You're going to have the 2nd fret there on the G with the thumb together. Then the thumb. And you're going to play that 2nd fret again. Kind of bend and release. And then the thumb. All right, so that little ending there looks like this. So let me play through what we have so far here in this section. I know it's kind of intricate, so I'm going to go pretty slow with this. Then it starts over again the same way. Just like we just did. So up here, this is kind of holding on the easier part there. Instead of that, he then takes the melody up to. So that's a little bit intricate. So that's going to be here. So that's pitting, so that's coming at it. When you get there, you're gonna come back here and play the 7th there on the A, reach up here and grab the 10th fret there on the G, play those together. And then the thumb, and then the 8th fret there on the G. Back to the thumb, and then hit the 7th fret on the G along with the thumb of the 6th, then the thumb, then just down to 7. So it is. So that's. And then kind of starts with the same ending. Except instead of that note right there, catching that note, the 5th fret on the G that we did before, it's just the open D string. And then the ending here, this coming right, going into the solo section, instead of that little part, it's just this. So that's just the open G and an open D string along with this low G note here, with your thumb, and then the thumb, open G, so, and then back down to the low. So, just repeat that like 4 times. And then that part continues when we get to Myles' solo, which starts here. So, now we're to the solo section. We've covered so much, we've done so much, and now we got some crazy stuff coming. So I'm gonna play them both together. So I'm gonna play Myles' solo into Mark's solo here. So we can just cover them both in this little performance first. You're gonna notice the last few notes of Myles' solo I'm gonna have to cut off because Mark comes in there and kind of, so there's a little overdub there. So they overlap there, but I'm gonna go into Mark's solo at that part, but when we do cover the solo itself note for note, I'll show you those last little notes of Myles' solo as well. All right, so let's jump into the solo section. Let me perform for you real quick. Here we go. Alrighty, so those were some epic solos by Myles and Mark. So obviously we have Myles' solo first, and I think like I mentioned before, there's a little overlap in the end of Myles and the beginning of Mark's solo. So you'll learn all of Myles. You'll see all of what Myles is doing there at the end here. So let's start with that first phrase of the solo. All right, so it's gonna slide into the 5th fret there on the D string. Then you're gonna slide into that again. Then go 3-5 on the G. And there's a quick bend and release, and then bend back up. And the bend is up 1.5 steps, so it's gonna sound like that at the 8th fret. So that first bend doesn't necessarily have to get there. The second one, once you hold it, is 1.5 steps up. And you release that, and then come down here and grab the 1st fret on the D string. So with this. All right, from there we have this. So that kind of starts with that slide on the up to the 5th fret on the D string again. Then the 3rd fret on the G, pull off 5-3 on the G. So. Then slide 5-7 on the G string. Obviously, a lot of vibrato. If you're holding out on the note, kind of a nice smooth vibrato. And then you're gonna hammer on 6-8 on the B string. And then slide down, he plays it with his index finger. Kind of slide back down from like 7-5 on the G string. And then that last little lick is gonna be 5-3 on the G string, then back to 5. Bend up that 5 and pick it. Release the bend. Back down to the 3, over to 5 on the D. So that whole section. Then you're gonna see this little lick. Very cool. So this is up here. It's a little double stop here. You're gonna play the 10th fret there on the high E string, 11th on the B string, and you slightly bend them up when you play it. You don't kind of traditionally when you play that kind of double stop, slightly bend them up, and then just play 12-10, 12-10 on the G a couple times. Then Then it does that. It slides down 12-10 on the D string, then down to 8, and then it does a quick little kind of slide from 10 to 11 back down to 10. So it's kind of just that kind of like a little quick little grace in. And then back down 8, so we had this. And then play 10-8 again. And then you're gonna slide into the 10 on the A string. So kind of slide up to it with your index finger. All right, from there we have our next phrase. Let me play the whole phrase real quick. Well, one more time. All right, so this next phrase. All right, so that slides into the 10th fret there again. So that's gonna, you hit that 10 a couple times. Then up to 12 on the D string, then back down to that 10 on the A. Over to 12 on the G string, down to 10, then hammer on 10 to 12 on the G string. And then you're gonna slide 10 to 12 on the G. So this. Then when you slide up to that 12th fret on the G, hit it a couple times. Oh, up to 15 on the B, then back to that 12 on the G. And then play. So that's going to be 15, 14, 13 on the B string. And then half step bend there at the 15th fret there on the B string. All right, and then the end of his solo. That little ending I had to cut off when I had to go into Mark's solo when I was doing a little performance there. So this is gonna. So he slides into the 19th fret on the G string and pick it twice. then the 20th fret on the B, then the 18th fret there on the high E string. And then you're gonna pull off 20 to 18, right, on the high E string. So that right there is gonna be a bend at the 20th fret there, no, it's gonna big bend and release, and then play 18, and then 20 over on the B string. And then do that bend to the 20 again, the big bend and release. Then straight to the B string. You don't play that 18, so it goes like this. So that's now at the 19th fret there on the B string, and then you're gonna play 20, and then bend up a whole step, and then up a step and a half. And then you're gonna go back over to the high E string. And that's gonna be, this is when Mark's solo actually comes in. So you don't hear this too loud, but it's quick hammer on from 18 to 20 twice on the high string. And then a bend and release. And then pull off to 18. All right, so we have this ending phrase all together. All right, so then Mark comes in with his solo, and this is a bit more intense, and this obviously has a wah pedal with it, which I used when I was performing it, but I'm not gonna bug you with the wah sound the entire time. You know I'm kind of working the wah pedal while we're doing this whole solo. All right, so this is the first phrase when Mark comes in with his solo. So that's gonna be, you're gonna be raking into a lot of these notes. He's really aggressive with the picking. So this goes kind of raking into it. So 15, 17 on the high E string, and then bend up, and then another bend. So after that little bend and release, you pull off to 15, and then you play 18, 15 on the B string, and then back up to that 17th fret on the high string, the bend and release. So hear this. Now, as you're still on that note, he goes into this. So he kind of does that little. Yeah, I missed the harmonic. There's a harmonic. So we have this. So that right there is going to be. So you just came out that little bend and release on the 17. Then you're going to do a quick hammer pull from 15, hammer on 17, pull back off to 15. Over to 18 on the B, back to 15 on the high E string, and then pull off 18, 15 there on the B. And then into an oblique bend, which is you're going to be holding the 18th fret there on the B string, and then bending up the 17th fret there on the G. So that's an oblique bend when one note is being bent or moved and the other one stays stationary. Dimebag called them hick bends, but they're technically the musical establishments would call it an oblique bend. Anyway, so you do that, release that bend, and then you catch a pinch harmonic here at the 14th fret on the G. Now, on my guitar, it's kind of right inside the neck pickup. So yours is probably somewhere in the same area as yours. And then, all right, so there's a lot of little details he does all over this solo that can be kind of hard to pick up, but once you get them underneath your fingers, it really makes the solo kind of like lock in a little bit easier. So we're gonna slide in as well. Slide into that 12th fret on the G string. And a couple bends there at the 14th fret there on the G. And then back down to the 12, and then you're gonna slide quickly down from 14 down to 10 on the D string. Pull off to 8, go over to 10 on the A string, back to that 10 on the, 8 on the D string. And then that quick thing, kind of like what Myles did in his solo, quick little kind of quickly sliding up to 11 from 10 and then back down. Pull back off to 8, over to 10 on the A string again. And then here, you're gonna go to that 8, and then slide up to 10 and quickly mute it, and then you're gonna kind of hit it and then just do it with my pinky, a little bar at the 15th fret across the B in the high string. Hit that with an upstroke, so we have this. All right, from there we have this little lick. So Mark does do a quick run through of the different sections of this solo on a video. And he pretty much nails it throughout what's going on. This little part here is going to be different than how he teaches it. I feel like this one's actually a little bit different. It's one of those like quick little bluesy licks that there's always like room for interpretation and stuff like that. He does play it kind of like 85%, but it's a little bit different on the recording than when he shows it in that little lesson video. The rest of it he pretty much nails, but anyway, people play things differently over the years, so this is going to be how he plays that quick little lick on the album. It looks like this. All right, so what's going on? It's going to start. So this is coming out after that little 15th there. You're going to do a quick little bend up at the 18th fret there on the B string. And then over to 15 on the high string, then pull off 18 to 15 on the high E string, then roll over to the 15th fret there on the B string, and into a bend at the 18th fret again, so with this. And then back up to that 15 on the high E string. So kind of think of it as like the first part of it. And then he's gonna do 2 pull-offs from 18 to 15 on the B string. Now from here on out, it's like he teaches it. So with this. And then. Something like that. So we have this so far. Then you go over to the 17th fret there on the G string, play 17, shift up and play 18 with the same finger, then 17 on the G again, and then 15, over to 17 on the D string. And then grab that 18th fret there on the B string, quick little bend and release of that 17 on the G, pull off to 15, and then play 17 again, let it ring a little bit, and there's a quick pull off to 15 at the very end. So with this. That right there is probably, it doesn't look like the hardest lick in the thing, but it's the hardest one to memorize and get onto your fingers because it's a little, that kind of like bluesy type of playing is always a little erratic. It's just kind of the style of whenever somebody's doing a lick like that. So the rest of it's actually easier to get note for note. And probably not as, it's probably harder to play, but easier to get on your finger. I don't know. Hope that makes sense. All right, now he has this little legato lick. All right, so that's gonna start here. So he's at the third fret there on the high E string, hammer on 5, then 6, pull back off to 5, pull back off to 3. And then you're gonna come over to the B string where you're gonna do a hammer on from nowhere. So you're gonna kind of hammer down that 6th fret there on the B string, pull off to 4, pull off to 3, hammer back up 4, 6, and then pull back off 4, 3. So kind of, so it is. Then you're gonna do another hammer on from nowhere at that 5th fret there on the G string. And then here, kind of the same thing. And but he's gonna kind of just stop. So we have this hammer on that 5, pull off 3, 2, hammer back 2, 3, 5, and then pull back off and kind of back to that 3 and kind of stay. That's kind of the end of the legato legs. And then when he gets to that, he adds vibrato to that and then does that. So that's going to be that. So at the very end of that legato, so that's that 3, 5, 3, and then 2, 3, 2. And then come up here, 15, 17, 15. And into that same oblique bend, which is that 18th fret there on the B string with a bend at the 17th fret on the G. And then we have this little melody. So this one's, those 2 notes, since he just did it, those 2 notes are quicker here the first time you hear them. So it goes 14, 15 on the G string, and then, so that's going to set 18 a couple times on the B string, up to 15 on the high string, and then back to that 18, let that ring. And then it's more of a deliberate slide into the 14, 15, and then to this melody. Something like that. So we have this, and sliding into that 14, 15. So into that 18 now on the B string again, up to the 18 on the high string, and then back down to 18, 15 on the B string. And then some. So that's going to be bending at the 18th fret there on the B string. And then as you get to the top of that bend, grab that 18th fret on the high string. Go do it a couple times. And then just a couple bends there, the 18 on the B string. All right, and then we have this next lick that he repeats 4 times. So that right there is, so what that is it's going to be you're going to pick 17 on the high E string, half step bend and release, pull off to 15, and then pick 18, 15 on the B. So it's that lick. So it's just repeated 4 times into this. Ooh, then we get to some tremolo picking. But before we do that, he does this. So if you pick it up on the album, he's doing this. He does 2 bends on the 18th fret. The first one's up a whole step, and then a slight like 3/4 step bend. So slightly kind of that little bluesy way of doing it, like kind of pulling it out of tune intentionally. And that's what he's doing on that second bend. And then you play 15 on the high E string, and then 18, 15 on the B string. So and then a couple of whole step bends at the 18 on the high E string. And then when he gets to the top of that second bend there, he holds that bend, he starts doing the tremolo picking. So there's a pattern to this tremolo picking too. He's just kind of like really kind of picking quickly across it, and just, it kind of works out that, you know, you have to really time it, and like, you're not trying to synchronize. You just kind of like, you want to be able to kind of hum the melody while you're just rapidly picking. And that's kind of what tremolo picking is, and it kind of works out. And you don't really worry about it. Am I hitting this note 2 times? Am I hitting it 3 times? Am I hitting it once? it's kind of going to be a mishmash usually. It's not consistent either way. So anyway, so when he gets to the top of that bend, it looks like this. So what's basically going on in here is you get the tremolo picking at the top of that bend, and then he's doing that kind of a melody there on it. So obviously so that's the melody. You just got to learn that 20, 15, then 18, 15, then 17, 15, and then back to 18, 15. So you do that melody in full twice, just all on the high E string there. So, and then he's going to start incorporating a note on the B string. So we had this. So he does this. So here are the notes he's doing there. So it's 20, and then 15 on the high E string, and then over to that 18 on the B, and then back to the 15. So, and then we're gonna kind of do the same thing, but the starting top note is 18 on the high string, and then that same little melody, and then 17 on the high string is the top first note now. And it's rest of the same, and then 18 on the top note again. So it's kind of just like that, and then you kind of ended on that last one. So you tremolo pick across that. And then he goes into a kind of a normal scale run. Now, you'll find that what he's doing is an octave higher. What he did earlier when he was doing the legato lick, he's now going to pretty much pick it. So he's just picking that up an octave. A little harmonic he gets on that note too. So that's going to be 15, 17, 18 on the high E, back down to 17, 15, then over to the B string, 18, 16, 15, back up, and back down. So, and then over here to 17, 15, 14 on the G, then back up, and then that 15th fret there you're gonna hold just like we did. But he puts a little pinch harmonic, and then he's gonna end the solo. When that's gonna be, so that's gonna be a quick little. You're gonna pick 14 on the G string, hammer on 15, pull back up to 14, over to 17 on the D string, and then play. You can pick them or hammer on, but it's 14, 15, 17, and then he reaches over and grabs this 15th fret there on the low E. Not live though. Live he jumps back and grabs the chords before. For that, but it's here on the recording. So pretty intense, man. There's a lot going on there throughout both of those solos. And then we get to the chorus again. So the chorus is obviously just like the previous choruses, just kind of longer and extended, and Myles is doing some amazing vocal work over it. And then we get to that same heavy riff. The difference between this one is as they play that a little extended, and you hear Myles come in with that thing that he previously did clean. but he's doing it with some distortion along with that heavy riff. So that you start hearing that coming in over it. And then we get to, basically they go back to the intro for the outro section. So it's pretty much the same thing we did in the intro, except there is a quick little solo by Myles at the very end. So let me play that for you real quick. It's pretty short. All right, so it starts with a volume swell like he did earlier in the song. He's going to be doing a whole like a bend on this 5th fret there on the G string. And as he releases that bend, he starts bringing in the volume. So it's on 0 first. And then he's going to come up here to the 7th fret and do a 1.5 bend. And then he's going to let that kind of come back down too. And you see that he gives it kind of an erratic vibrato, which is obviously an intentional kind of musical effect, and it sounds pretty cool. Like that. And then he goes, so that's going to be a hammer on from 6 to 8 on the B string. And then pick them over to 6 on the high string, and then kind of a slight bend on that note. And then, and that's just kind of like the 5 on the D string, then 3, 5 on the G string, and then bend and release, and then another bend, release, then over to the 5th fret there on the D string. So very, very cool song, just intense track, a lot of guitar work throughout it, just all sorts of things going on. But just a brilliant performance and a fantastic song. So I hope you guys enjoyed this very in-depth breakdown of Blackbird, and I'll see you again soon with another one.